5 o'clock. The Vallecitos Water District meeting for January 17th, 2024 will come to order. Before we begin, I will announce that members of the public may watch the meeting live via computer or smart device by going to the district's website and clicking on the Watch Live icon. However, they will not be able to participate in the meeting remotely. Members of the public may also listen to the meeting live or on their phone by dialing 888-788-0099 toll-free or 877-853-5247 toll-free. When prompted, enter the meeting ID and passcode displayed on the district's website. We will now say the Pledge of Allegiance. Director Grosset, will you please lead us?
Sure. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call is next on the agenda. Please indicate your attendance. We have 4 present, 1 absent. Thank you. Do we have any additions to the agenda?
No, we do not.
Thank you, General Manager. General Manager. Okay, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda for the regular board meeting of January 17th, 2024? May I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Okay, so moved by Director Grosset. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Director Pinnock. Please vote. For affirmatives. Thank you. Do we have any public comment for items not on the agenda? Go ahead. This is for an item not on the agenda.
Or am I on the agenda?
The land, if you're here for the land acknowledgement, it is on the agenda.
Okay.
So that comes just a little later. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay, moving to the consent calendar. I would like to pull the between the pipes from the consent calendar for discussion. So I would like to pull that from the calendar. Do we have any other polls from the consent calendar? No. The reason for my suggested poll was that historically, when there is a changeover of the board, we run a little blurb about that, and we also historically have listed the directors' names on the back cover, and I didn't see that in this edition, so I'd like to devote a little bit of real estate to that.
So this is something that came about as we brought on BB&K. The previous council had approved articles that included the board members' photographs and/or pictures, but based on, I believe it's California Fair Political Practices Act, a mass mailing of this magnitude can't have board member names or photographs in it. And maybe council can further explain.
Well, there is a mass mailing limitation for if we're sending bulk mailings over 200 items that prohibits us from including director information because of the elective nature of it. So campaign type election. I have not looked at this piece, so but that is the prohibition that Chris is talking about.
So I understand, if we're promoting a board member, but just having our names because we are elected officials, it seems like that's a very, very conservative interpretation.
Well, again, I haven't been asked about this specific language, but I'm happy to look at it as to whether it can be included in this mailing if it's just a listing of officers that you're asking for, an announcement relative to those elections, et cetera.
Okay. I know in 2018, there was a little blurb on the back page about the changeover.
So what we can do is take a look at what we did in 2018 with the changer, send it over to BBK for verification. Assuming that BBK gives us a green light on that, add it to the, between the pipes, and mail it out at that point if, at the board's pleasure, if that is acceptable. If it's not, we can bring it back to the board for discussion.
Okay, okay, that sounds good. May I have a motion to approve the consent items as presented, other than the one that we pulled? So moved by Director Hernandez,
Second?
seconded by Vice President Pinnock. Please vote. Okay, 4 yeses. Thank you. Okay, now I believe we move on to our action items. Action item 2.1, emergency repair.
I think you need to take care of that other item if you're going to vote on it and give direction, since it was pulled from the consent calendar.
Okay. I'm open to suggestions. What would be that language?
Maybe we could suggest staff look at the previous language, get a legal to interpret to see if it's acceptable.
Okay,
If it is acceptable, obviously update the language and then have authorization to circulate in between the pipes. And then if it's not acceptable, circulate in between the pipes the way it is, unless the board wants to see it again or discuss it. So that's really up to the motion maker.
okay. I will entertain a motion to have legal counsel look at the requested language change. And if the language change is acceptable, it will be incorporated without the board having to see it again. If it is unacceptable, it will not be incorporated without the board having to see it again. I trust your judgment. I will entertain that motion.
So clarification, so what are you wanting? I mean, is it just names or pictures or blurbs? I mean, I don't know what we're
Yep.
voting on.
So, historically, I have I don't know that I can share my screen, but. so
And is it ongoing or is it a one and done thing? Is it, so
No,
those two things?
historically, the back cover shows the list of the directors,
Right,
like this. And in this particular one, this was from winter 2018, it talks about the changeover of the board.
okay. So we're voting on, just on the back of the thing, you want the 5 districts with the commissioners on those?
And then a
listed?
blurb about the changeover of the board.
Oh, okay.
But it sounds to me like that might not comply with FPPC. I'm not sure why it complied before, but not now. But maybe BBK was not on board at that time, is that?
I don't think we were council at the time. I know
Okay.
there was a change after we came on because the district had previously been sending out things.
And BBK hasn't seen the language, so to be fair, they need to take a look at the blurb and maybe even make edits to the language. As long as the intent is met, if I'm comfortable as general manager, send that out with board blessing today. And obviously, if BBK comes back and says, no, that violates the rule, then we'll send it out. If it's just the board listening or with the blurb, we'll figure out which is the best way to be representative of the board members and send it out without violating any rules.
And
It
if
seems-
I
go ahead.
may, I'm hearing two things. One is there is a reference to the transition of the board relative to officers there. And then there is a separate listing of the directors by district. Chris isn't here, but I'm guessing he can share that language with me and we can look at it. And if it's okay, we'll green light them including it. If it's not, there may be some variation of it that's allowable, but we'll look at it and then it can get published with the legally allowable language.
Okay. So, do I need to restate the motion?
I don't believe so. If I could.
Because it was very long.
Yeah, I believe, and you, please correct me if I'm wrong, President Boyd Hodgson, is, the motion is, have BBK review the language similar to what was issued in 2018, and based on their recommendations and/or edits, circulate after that is completed. So if they recommend modifications, then make the modifications, circulate it. If they say leave it, don't touch it, we circulate it. Or if they say, no, it's perfectly good with the additional language. Either way, after BBK reviews it, we're going to circulate it unless the board's pleasure is to bring it back. And that's really up to the board. So the motion that you stated was basically circulated either way based on BBK's recommendation.
Yes, agreed.
Possible addition to this, it'd be nice to include a map next to those names, should those names be allowed, that highlight the areas of which we are directors, and then that way they know who to contact when they have a problem.
Are you
Should be
making a substitute? You know, maybe
An adjacent motion?
an adjacent,
An attachment? I don't know how to properly state that, but
Well, I guess your request is, one, to include a transition of the officers, that's A, and then B, to include a reference to the directors and their districts with a graphic representation of those areas. And we will look at whether each of those are allowable, and we'll include what's allowable, and if both aren't, then we won't include anything, and then they will do the mass mailing. How's that?
that would be the motion that I propose as an alternate, I suppose.
so a substitute motion.
Substitute
Okay,
motion.
all right. May I have a second for the substitute motion?
Second.
Okay. I think we've discussed, so now we vote. Great, okay. I think that we have that clarified now, right? Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your patience in walking through that. Okay. Now I call for a motion to adopt the consent items.
I think you already voted on the consent items.
Oh,
You
that's
just
right.
had this
Okay,
one
all
item.
right.
And
Thank
now
you.
you're on to action items.
Okay, great. Now we're on to action items. Okay. Action item 2.1, emergency repair of 18-inch water main on Rincon Avenue. Do I have any public speakers for this agenda item?
No, you did not.
Okay, thank you. Are there any, is this a presentation that we are?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great.
So I'll start off before I hand it over to our district engineer, Jason Hubbard. Madam President, so as you may and the rest of the board may recall, we had a main break in the Escondido area that created a sinkhole. It was several months ago, but between the repairs, stabilizing the road, coming in, making the final repairs, and of course, getting the final billings, this item is now being brought back to you, and Jason Hubbard, our district engineer, along with Ricardo Cervantes, is going to be presenting this.
Great. Thank you, General Manager. Good evening. Happy New Year, Board President, members of the board. So yes, tonight for this, for your consideration is the emergency repair of the 18-inch water main on Rincon Avenue. I do have with me Ricardo Cervantes. He's our construction inspection supervisor. He and his team managed this project for the district, and I brought him along to help answer any of those technical questions that you may have. So because pictures tell 1,000 words, I'm going to advance to page 87 of your board packet and walk you through the project as quickly as I can. So as the general manager stated, on September 25th, there was a sinkhole that developed in Rincon Avenue. That's in the city of Escondido, developed right above our 18-inch water main. That water main is an 18-inch bar-wrapped steel pipe. It was installed in 1956. It's a main transmission main for the district. It is actually a redundant pipeline for the 920 zone. 920 zone is one of the largest hydraulic zones that we have here in the district. It feeds, gets water from the first aqueduct from the Water Authority. Good news is, because this is a redundant pipeline and is a transmission main, there's no customers off of this line. So we were able to isolate it, and no customers were impacted. Nobody was out of water. Some of the complications we did have is that a control valve located a couple feet from the sinkhole that you see here in the photo was non-functioning, so our operations folks had to back out all the way west of I-15 to turn a valve to isolate that. So that's obviously an issue we had to address. 99% of the time when ops responds to these types of repairs, they can handle them no problem. They're very well skilled to handle these. Occasionally, as in the case of this repair, it was outside of their scope. They needed assistance. It was an emergency situation. That's where myself and Ricardo, his team, we get involved. We let the general manager know, and that's why you were updated on that regular board meeting on October 4th, that this was an emergency situation, and we needed to bring in outside contractors to help us. So we did do that. We have a suite of contractors that we utilize. Casa Arietta was contacted, very responsive. They've worked for us in the past. They have the skills, the expertise, and the equipment to handle these types of repairs. And you can see in the next photo, one of the first things we had to do was stabilize the roadway. So we did that afternoon that this developed and ops isolated the line. We did get a contractor out, Cass area out there. They poured a zero-sack slurry, stabilized the roadway. We worked with the city of Escondido with coordination to make that happen. And then very shortly after that, we mobilized and began digging on that repair. And you can see the size and hopefully the scale of the excavation. So a lot of dirt moved. This pipeline was about 13 feet to top of pipe deep. So there was groundwater that had to be mitigated. K-rail was brought in to protect the public vehicular traffic, to keep them separated from the heavy equipment. So big operation. This pipeline, the source of the failure, I'll show you a photo of that, was that this line was installed in 1956. And in 1989, there was a bridge installed on across Reedy Creek, which is just right next to this location. And in so doing, we relocated our pipeline onto the bridge. And it was that connection point that failed. So we got in there, they located this, we identified what it was, and we cut that section out. We also took the opportunity to do some condition assessment of the water line. It doesn't always happen, but with a lot of coordination, we were able to get Cass to get a subcontract there, get a CCT camera in the line. We were able to get about 500 or so feet up to the east of the line to look at, what is the condition of that pipe. We don't always have this opportunity to look inside a potable water line. Good news is, line looked good, joints looked good. We're really happy with what we saw. We did find an anomaly about 430 feet to the east where we have bare steel, a visible corrosion. We think this is an abandoned outlet. This has been flagged, and we'll be working with our capital group and our ops folks to schedule a repair in the future. So this is why we like taking these opportunities. So the repair, I should say the culprit is here on the screen, and this Frankenstein you see is an odd fitting that's coming off of the pipe. We're not quite sure what this was. It wasn't an as-built. We have some speculation, but regardless.
It grew.
What's that?
It grew.
Yeah, there's some barnacles there. What you see here is the 1956 pipeline, and I put a kind of a red line here that sort of projects the joint between that 56 pipe and that 89 pipe. And sure enough, that's where the failure was, right at the 6 o'clock position at the bottom of the pipe, and that's what was replaced.
Excuse me.
Bless you. So Cass replaced this. We put about a 9-foot stick in. You can see there on the right side of that photo, we put a new valve in. So we replaced that non-functioning 1956 butterfly valve with a brand new 18-inch gate valve, which gives us more operational control on this pipeline. It was great. We also did all the backfilling, and of course, and there was extensive pavement replacement, as you can imagine, when you have an 18-inch line fail, significant amount of water. It actually lifted the pavement in locations, and so that all had to be coordinated with the city to make those replacements for the pavement. All in all, the project was over $300,000. About $267,000 was the invoice from Cass Arrieta. That invoice was reviewed by staff for accuracy and rates. We had about $23,000 in material, the valve, the pipe we supplied to the contractor. That reduces their markup, so we try to reduce a little bit of that cost, and then of course staff time to coordinate this. So with that, and this took about 3 weeks to complete, by the way. So with that, board staff would like to recommend to the board to approve the invoice from Cass Arrieta in the amount of $332,332.28, and we can answer any questions you have.
Okay. Thank you for that presentation. Great work. Welcome, Carlos. Thank you for being here. It looks like that we responded very quickly and made the best of the situation. How long were residents without water?
So the great news is because this was a redundant transmission main, no customers were out of water.
Oh, great.
So no impact to the customers other than local vehicular traffic were impacted, of course.
Okay. What questions does the board have?
Question?
Yes.
The repair that needs to be done in the future, is that going to be a top-down, or you're going to try to go through the pipe and repair inside the pipe?
We'll do it from the outside, so we'll have to dig down and probably cut that section out, put a vacuum plate, put a whole new repair piece in there.
Thank you.
So excuse the ignorance, but what does a redundant pipe mean? I mean, is it being used? It's not being, what's it
Yeah,
for?
so that pipeline feeds the 920 zone. They run it about once a week for water quality purposes, but the 920 zone is primarily fed from our Twin Oaks reservoirs. So in the case that there's any issues with Twin Oaks, for instance, I think our 40 million gallon tank is being cleaned right now, or if there's any issues with the water authority line that's feeding that reservoir, this is our backup.
So it's a backup.
It's
Is
our
it
backup,
pressurized
and it's a
water?
necessary backup.
Is there pressurized water in there at all times?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And just to add to that, so the water authority will shut down systems for either maintenance, repairs, or inspection, for up to 5, 6, 7, up to 10 days. When they shut down, they usually don't shut down both potable water aqueducts. This is our only connection off this aqueduct. So if they shut down one of the aqueducts, and what is that, pipeline 4, Ed, or? Yeah, if they shut down pipeline 4, then this is the only way we get water for those 10 days from the water authority, potable water. We still have our desal, depending on the time, and we still have our connection to the line. So even though this is a redundant system, that's why it's critical.
Redundant meaning used once a week, like you said, to flush out possibly, but it's always active.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay. Okay. I will entertain a motion to move staff's recommendation to award the money, I forget the amount, it's not right in front of me, to Casa Arrieta.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second?
Second, great. Let's vote.
Good job. You didn't have to do anything, huh?
Okay, great. Motion passes. Motion
You're
carries.
redundant. You're there and you're active.
Okay, moving on to action item 2.2, addition of a part-time position. Do we have any public speakers for this agenda item?
No, we did not.
Thank you. Okay.
So, President Boyd Hodgson, this item is basically a new way of looking to handle an existing problem that we have. The board may recall that there's new regulations and that puts additional work on staff. And the staff always tries to take care of that in-house, and then we usually look towards consultants or sometimes hiring additional staff, and those things are fairly costly. So we got together in the management team, and our human resource manager, Denise Aviles, came up with a great idea to not only accommodate and accomplish a goal that's put onto us by regulation, but also save some money while doing so. So with that, I'll hand the presentation over to Denise.
Thank you, General Manager. Good evening, members of the board. Tonight I am presenting the addition of a part-time position. As the board may recall, there is a new state regulation relating to lead pipe and lead pipe identification. The deadline for compliance of this new regulation is October 16th of 2024. Initially, we were using existing staff to complete this work. With their current workloads, we have not made much progress as we had hoped. We also have looked into utilizing a consultant. The proposal of the estimated cost came in around $145,000. The cost included research, planning, field investigations, and preparation of the final report. As we evaluated all this information, we discussed a creative solution to meet our goal and objective. We discussed hiring a part-time project specialist. This position would be a 0.5 full-time FTE employee, not to exceed 999 hours in a fiscal year. The salary for this position would be a flat rate between $25 and $30 an hour and would not be eligible for benefits. Per state law, part-time employees are eligible for 1 hour of sick leave for every 30 hours worked. The fiscal impact of this part-time position would be around $31,000. There are no benefits, or CalPERS financial impacts for the fiscal year 23-24. As I stated, we feel this would be a cost-effective approach and an innovative solution to meet our regulatory obligation. This concludes my staff report, and I can answer any questions that you may have. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot our recommendation. So staff recommends that you approve the new part-time position and adopt the resolution to approve the annual pay schedule. And I
Thank
can
you.
answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
the presentation, and thank you for this creative idea and solution. We spend a lot of money on consultants, and by the sounds of it, this is a very creative way to help save our customers money and also get the work done, because I know that staff is very busy. What questions are there from the board?
Who does the person report to?
So this person would be reporting to our assistant O&M manager, sorry.
That guy back there.
I was like, wait.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
So this is part-time temporary.
Correct, so this would be project-based. So this person, once the project's done, we can either let them go, or if we have other projects, we can look at that. Our main thing is staying focused on the 999 hours in a fiscal year.
I mean, is that fillable? Is there somebody, I mean, have we done this before?
I've come from many government agencies, and every government agency has part-time positions. City government, I worked for the community college district, K through 12 school district, and then also I just came from a water district. This type of position is new to water districts. I don't think they've actually explored this in my experience so far. So this is a newer concept, it seems to be in water districts, but it's very common in other government agencies.
And not difficult to fill? I mean,
No, because people look at this as a way of getting into a government agency. It gets them experience, it gets them get to know the staff. And if they're really good, we may have other projects and we may be able to utilize them other places. So it really is a win-win.
sounds like it. Thank you.
Do we have an idea of what it would cost if we were to hire a consultant in contrast to this? Have we done that
It's
math?
we did a proposal and it came in at $145,000. So this
Okay.
would be saving about $100 and some odd dollars, because we would have to still probably pay for some additional things for them, I
Okay.
would imagine, to do the job,
Sure.
but.
Yes.
I commend you for your outside of the box thinking. This is tremendous. I mean, and the savings is tremendous as well. Keep up the good work, keep looking for these opportunities. And with that, I would move to approve the staff recommendation.
Okay, it's been moved.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? If not, let's vote. And it passes. Thank you. Great job.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to action item 2.3. Thank you. This is the land acknowledgement discussion, and this is something that I had brought forward at the last meeting. And what I would like to do is just draw my colleagues' attention to the piece of paper that actually has the land acknowledgement on it. This was not in the board packet with the actual verbiage, but I figured you all would want to see that. So we do have the information about what the land acknowledgement would include. And we do have some public speakers on this item. I will call first Rachel Arana. Okay, I will call Stephanie Saavedra and Eshpa Leo Saavedra.
Hatsi, I am Ñoño Pueblo and Salagi, which means I am a visitor to this land. My children are from some of the local tribes. They are Kumeyaay, Kupa, and Apache. And our friend here, she is Liseño. This is the primary land of the Liseño people. And so I just wanted to point out some historical information. I know I pointed out before, and I promise you there is a correlation. So if I may, we have been omitted for so long in history, and I am asking that all of you vote on this to at least acknowledge the local people. In the Declaration of Independence, we were considered to be merciless Indian savages, which we are not. We were the stewards of the land, and we still are. In the Constitution, we were identified as having our own distinct governments and were considered to be sovereign nations. Now, tribal people did not become citizens until 1924 for many, and until the 1940s for many more. We are the highest percentage per capita within our groups that fought for us in our wars. So for those of you that are veterans, I would like you to please hear that information into your heart. And this land acknowledgement is just a small tribute to the people, the caretakers of this land. And I ask that all of you use these words, that you honor these people. The Pledge of Allegiance has not honored our people in the ways that it has honored other citizens of this country. So for that, I'm asking all of you to include what Dr. Tiffany Boyd is asking, so that we can honor these local people and make sure that we're not forgotten, because we are still here, we're still the descendants. And actually San Diego is one of the largest populations of intertribal indigenous people in the United States. We're still taking care of the land, and we're still taking care of the water. And we ask that all of you join with us to honor them, to pay homage to them and their descendants. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Rachel Arana.
I am tied to this land. The natives, we don't wear loincloths, we don't wear buckskin anymore. The reservation system was an attempt to assimilate indigenous people. It failed. We are still here. We are mixed heritage. We are intertribal. We do take care of this land. We live with the land, not on the land. And we will continue to do so. At birth, I was given the name Tamapahangmai, which in Juaneño, I am Juaneño and Luceño, which is Orange County, and here Luceño, the San Luis Rey, here in San Diego. I was given the name Tamapahangmai, and that means sunbird. And I've always taken my name to heart, and I felt it was a great honor. And it's guided me throughout my years. And throughout all jobs, any occupation I have, I pay homage to the sun, I pay homage to the water, I teach how to garden, I teach not only how to garden, but how to give back to the earth. We cannot just take, we have to give back. And this is a very, very small thing that the County of San Diego can do for the indigenous folks still here, is to give back and to let all the other populations know here who are citizens here and who are visitors that we are still here and that we can set the example for the rest of the country to put land markers like the one that's in the new river park in Mission Valley. There's a huge address to the Kumeyaay, and it's all throughout the new river park, and it's beautiful. And that's a good start. And so if they're doing it down there, we can do it everywhere, all throughout San Diego County. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. I will read the proposed land acknowledgement for the benefit of the public. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Wiseño-Payam-Cowishem people. Today, the meeting place of Cal State University San Marcos and its surrounding areas is still home to the 6 federally recognized bands of the La Jolla, Pala, Palma, Pachanga, Rincon, Soboba, Luiseño, Payam-Cowishem people. It is also important to acknowledge that this land remains the shared space among the Kopanga Wisham, Kopeno, Kumeyaay, and Ipe peoples. A land acknowledgement is a formal statement that recognizes and respects the indigenous peoples of the land as stewards of the land and the enduring relationship that exists between the indigenous peoples and their traditional lands. It is my hope that we could incorporate this into our meetings as a way to honor the people that have come before us on this land. Every meeting we do say the Pledge of Allegiance. It is a ritual, it is a tradition, and it's a sacred ritual and a sacred tradition. It is not something, we as elected officials are beholden to the Constitution. That was our oath. But we say the pledge because it is a tradition and it's a ritual. I'm asking my colleagues to join me and vote yes to start a new tradition and a new ritual in addition to the Pledge of Allegiance to honor the people that came before us on this land, similar to several other institutions in the area that do so as well. What questions are there from the board? Yes.
Certainly, I do acknowledge what you're saying. And in fact, I have worked with both the Sequan, the Rincon, the San Pasqual Indian tribes as an architect. And I do respect everything that you're saying and doing. However, as a wounded veteran, I have not and will not support us bringing in and raising a flag to wounded veterans. So, although I acknowledge what you're saying and I appreciate it, I don't think I can support this acknowledgement.
What other comments are there?
So comments on that. As elected officials, we do represent the districts we serve. And I did take this seriously. We see this on the board packet. So I'm just a voice for those who I serve with our customers. And so there's a couple things that they brought up, and I listened to all of them. And so I would like to speak for the majority of those customers whom I serve. Like Jim said, I recognize and respect the acknowledgement and all the indigenous people everywhere. I'm trying to put this in a proper way. One thing that I was looking at is I appreciate what the land acknowledgement is. One thing I noticed on the form, and I appreciate how they do that at Cal State San Marcos. However, it would almost pay a disrespect because it says in here, why do we do it? It says a land acknowledgement is not something you just do before an event. And so it's just not just reading it and doing it and moving on. I feel that would pay a disrespect. The best way to acknowledge and respect them would to honor the land in which we serve. Take care of the water, take care of the wastewater. So as a municipality, we're a business. If you look at the definition of a water district, it's a nonprofit business. It's a corporation where we try and serve the people. Those within the District 1 say, we want you to stay laser focused on our mission, which is to bring clean water in, sustainable, reliable water, and to take wastewater out, recycle, reuse, and take care of the land in which we serve. So the best way I know how to acknowledge and respect is to take care of the water, take care of the land, and stay laser focused on that. So I just wanted to explain possibly where I'm going on this. I appreciate it, respect it. It's just a different way to do it, not just to do a few words before a meeting, a gathering, because it says not just to do it, but to truly do what we do. What we're really good at is take care of the land on which we live. So that's kind of where I'm leaning. That's my discussion. And that's why I'm going to vote a different way.
Okay. No comment. So I understand where you are speaking, and just for the benefit of the public, there was a toolkit that was produced by Cal State University San Marcos American Indian Studies, as well as the California Indian Culture and Sovereignty Center, and that's what I'm looking at and reading from. In this toolkit, which is put out as sort of almost like a media kit to talk about the importance of it and how to deliver it, it does say that it is not to be perfunctory. that is to be read with respect, and to make sure that it is communicated in a way that I would akin to the Pledge of Allegiance. When we say the Pledge of Allegiance, we say it with reverence and respect. This land acknowledgement would be said with reverence and respect. It could be said by all of us. It could be said by someone who chooses up here to say it. It could be said by community members. We could invite community members who are Native peoples of the land to say it. So I hear what you're saying, but I think that the context was a little bit different as it was intended than what you interpreted as. I am going to vote in the affirmative. I feel like that it is a small thing that we can do to acknowledge and honor the land and the people who have been stewards of the land and the people who have been stewards of the water. We can't forget that Indian tribes have first water rights. That's something that's the California law. And I'm going to vote in the affirmative. So if there is no more discussion, I'll call for a motion to adopt the land acknowledgement. I move to adopt the land acknowledgement. Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Okay. Failing no second, or seeing no second, the motion fails. Thank you for speaking. Thank you for coming and speaking. Okay, moving on to action item 2.4, the district scholarship increase.
Thank you, President Boyd Hodgson. So at the December 6th meeting, Director Hernandez requested that this item be brought forward. This item stems from an earlier request that Director Hernandez requested through the P3 to consider increasing the scholarship amount from $1,000 per scholarship to $2,000. So with that, Director Hernandez, this item is yours to discuss.
Yes. Inflation, all of the rest, inducement to the education community out there that we want to have opportunities for them to engage in the water industry. And I think adding another $1,000 to the overall budget is less than 0.1% of our total budget. So I don't think it's a big push. And I think it just would be beneficial to the scholarship applicants and ultimately the ones that are awarded the scholarship. And I think it's just a nice addition. Right now, a semester anywhere is $6,000 plus. So this would be just a nice little help in anyone's financial program in their educational future.
How many scholarships do you give, how often a year?
I think, are we 5?
Well, originally, we said that we would award 6.
Oh, okay,
One,
6.
and ideally, they were to be distributed, one to each of the 4 high schools and one to Palomar and one to Cal State San Marcos. The way it's evolved over time is that we haven't had applications necessarily in that way. We've ended up awarding quite a few to Palomar students, which, you know, we hope to see in our internship program and then coming to work for us. But so far, it has been 6. We've budgeted for 6 scholarships at the $1,000 level. Last year, we awarded 5, and so we just allocated a little bit more.
Once a year.
Once a year. The year before that, we awarded 6. So we've done 6, and then we've done 5. The 5ers got, you know, the cohort of 5 received a little more than 1,000 because we awarded the entirety of the budget.
Very good, yeah.
Yes.
Chris had issued surveys to recent scholarship recipients. And I don't think he circulated to everyone, he circulated to the P3, but the response to the question was, what did you do with your scholarship money, and was it related to water? And the majority of them, it was not very impressive. And granted, $1,000, there's not a whole lot you can really do with it in terms of buying books. I think my primary reason for being against raising the scholarship, I think we need to kind of reevaluate the scholarship program as a whole, and perhaps it's awarding a single scholarship that's worth $5,000, $7,000, something like that may be a better thing. If 1,000 is not enough, 2,000 is not enough, and then where does it end? And, you know, I'm just trying to make sure we get the best outcome of actually helping the public understand, you know, the water industry, and hopefully getting new future water employees out of it. So that was kind of where I was coming from for why we should pause at least the increasing of it while we reevaluate the program in general.
Some good points.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's see where this goes. I move that we increase the scholarship budget from 1,000 to 2,000, not to exceed 6 participants for 2024, 25.
I will second that, and I have not had a chance to say my say, so I'm going to discuss that. I'm in support of this motion. I disagree with my colleague. I think that $2,000 buys a lot of courses at Palomar College, and while the responses to the survey may not have suggested that they spent the money in ways that we would judge as, the most efficient. The money's the money. You know, if you have a tuition bill and it's due and you hadn't gotten the scholarship money just yet, but you paid the tuition bill out of your pocket, and then the tuition then the scholarship came in and you were able to buy food for the week or rent for the week, or your pet got sick and you paid the vet bills, it's all the same pot of money. It still helped. It still helped. And college is really expensive. I know that. I've got a kid going next year. And then the next year, and then 2 years later, and then 5 years later. So it's a lot. I'm in support of this because I feel like we can do both. We can increase the amount, and then we can also take it back to the P3 committee and decide what the parameters are.
Yeah.
And we can say, yes, we are giving you more money, but here are the criteria. We can be, very precise with our criteria. We can also say, we expect that you will do X, Y, Z, and we can bang that out in the P3 committee. I will be voting in the affirmative. Any other comments or discussion? Okay, let's vote. Oh, did we second?
Well, yeah.
Oh, I seconded, okay. Okay,
I don't know, there's no public comment.
Okay.
I know.
okay. I'll get the order. I'll get the order. This is only my second meeting. I'll get it. Okay. All right, let's vote.
You're doing great.
Thank you. Well, okay. Excellent news.
Very good.
Okay, fantastic.
But towards that end, I think we have a great recommendation relative to looking at the whole program, because maybe that is a better way to go, and it would be more beneficial to one person who is focused on water than just a spread. But the P3 people can look at that.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Okay. Action 2.5, Climate and Water Reuse Standing Committee. We had a robust discussion at our last meeting around committee assignments, and I am proud of the creative, out-of-the-box, third way that I proposed to try to distribute the committee assignments more equitably than they have been in the past. One of the proposed solutions was to bring forward a new standing committee, which according to resolution or ordinance 221, the president can make. It's being brought before the committee for a vote. In the last meeting, I proposed that Director Elitharp would be the chair and that I would serve. I'm revising that proposal. I'm proposing that I would be the chair, with Director Elitharp being the member on the committee. And I would like for some further discussion, and I would really like to see this implemented. If you are in favor, I guess in order for this to be implemented for, as presented, we would need all 4 yes votes.
That's correct.
Because, also according to Ordinance 221, if someone on the board is going to chair 2 standing committees, it requires a unanimous vote across the board. Director Elitharp is not here. It is unanimous if the 4 of us vote yes. So I am looking for discussion, and if there's no further discussion, I'm looking for a motion to implement this as a standing committee, as presented.
Discussion? What are we presently doing relative to climate action of sorts?
So Director Hernandez, currently the discussion's been held in the P3. We're moving forward with what we call the CPR, the Climate Progress Report. With Chris's staff being short-staffed, we haven't moved forward on it, but we've just started to put together basically the main listing and the benefits of not only what the district does that is green and good for the environment and saves greenhouse gases, but also how it also saves our ratepayers money by offsetting, for example, SEG rate increases, offsetting operational costs. So we won't have anything quite yet. I hope to probably by mid or late spring, we'll have something into that effect. That's where it's been primarily handled historically to date,
Is in the P3.
is in the P3.
I see. So we, although, if I heard you, we're starting something, it hasn't been formulated yet, and you think in the next couple of months it will be?
Next couple of months, we're hoping to have a draft for the P3 to review and get direction.
And then the P3 committee will be the one to implement whatever is decided?
Well, at the board's pleasure, if this committee goes through, then that scope would shift to this new committee.
No, if this committee doesn't go through, then you're still going to continue with the program that you're starting. It just would fall under the P3 committee, and they would deal with it.
That's correct.
Okay.
But that's not all. So, one of the things that we had talked about as well, and I want to acknowledge that having the addition of a standing committee does require staff's time. So I want to acknowledge that. I know that you all are busy. In my conception of this climate change and water resource committee, which I think is a more appropriate name, this committee would meet perhaps quarterly. It would work on the CPR, the Climate Action Report, with the intent that a climate action plan will be developed, as well as the fleet electrification, which we had work from Cal State San Marcos, the senior program. Thank you to Director Grosset for bringing that opportunity to us. But there's a lot more left to do. I've got the report right here. I've read it. There's a lot to do for fleet electrification. There is a lot to do for water reuse, water resource, potentially working towards a recycled water or a water reuse program here at Vallecitos, which I know is on General Manager Gumpel's agenda during his tenure. Climate change is here. It is not going to be mitigated with us just acting as status quo. I feel that it is urgent enough that we form a standing committee devoted to looking at enhancing our efficiencies for climate change mitigation, electrification of our fleet, and water reuse and water resources. So there is a lot of work to be done. There's enough for this to be a standing committee. It would remove what's happening in the engineering committee with water resource. It would remove what's happening in the P3 with the climate progress report, evolving into a climate action plan, and it would be taken up as a new standing committee, if that clarifies.
Clarified.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. Well, I would move to form a standing committee called Climate and Water Resource, putting myself as the chair and Director Elitharp as the member. That is my motion. Do I have a second?
I can second that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's vote. Okay, it is a tied vote. So that means the motion fails.
That means the motion fails, yes.
Okay.
It'd have to be unanimous.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yep. Is there something you would like to say? Okay. Moving on to action item 2.6, Land Use and Developer Relations Standing Committee. This was a second standing committee that I had proposed. I don't have any further comment on that. Is there any discussion about this item?
Land use and developer relations. Is that being handled now?
Yeah,
Is it
it's,
something new we want to?
it is, but it's not directly being handled centrally. So the only land use items that is direct is the current ad hoc committee, but that's specific because it's an ad hoc committee for the Hill property. That's
So the
it.
one on 2.7.
Yeah, land use, any land use or developer type items either circulates through the engineering committee or the finance committee if it has to do with fees. So there's no direct committee that handles that one item. It's really kind of a triage between whether it has to do with fees or have to do with projects, engineering or finance.
Did you have a vision for that?
I did. So this was a second standing committee that I had proposed that would take the place of the ad hoc Hillside Property Development Committee. To my mind, the Hillside Property Development Ad Hoc Committee has been kind of a black box since I've been on the board. I would like to see this particular project move forward more quickly with more creative solutions. But I also believe that given the growth projected in San Marcos, given our interactions with the city, particularly in upcoming items such as the Twin Oaks development, that it would be good to have a standing committee where we build relationships with developers, we understand what their visions are, and we forge those relationships so that we have a better idea of how we can work with them. And it would also be a committee that would interface fairly regularly with the city.
So it would replace the Hillside ad hoc?
It would. I'm looking in the agenda to make sure I didn't miss anything.
It's not creating a new one, it's just replacing current one.
Well,
With
there,
the-
it
with
doesn't,
additional-
yeah, it doesn't seem like there would need to be both the ad hoc committee and the land use and developer relations standing committee. I'm proposing creating a standing committee that interfaces with developers, that communicates regularly with the city, that takes advantage of the fresh start that we have with the city, with their new city manager and our general manager, so that we can all be on the same page and moving in the same direction for the growth of San Marcos.
And we meet periodically, not,
Periodically. Yes.
You know, I really appreciate what you did creatively here to come up with the concepts for both of these, and also, I think the spirit of them is good. To your point before, it takes a lot of staff's time, and I appreciate you trying to pare that down as well. I didn't hear who's a part of this committee, and then how often it's looking to meet.
I would suggest quarterly. Since y'all didn't go for my climate change committee, I'm going to propose that I am the chair of this committee. And I am open to suggestion on my colleague that would like to serve with me on this committee. Who would like to serve with me on this committee?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you, Vice President. So the proposal is then, and it would need unanimous, it would need unanimous voting irrespective of who chairs, because we're all, actually, Director Grosset is not chairing a standing committee. Had the opportunity, but took a pass.
Appreciate it.
So then the motion would be, or the proposal would be, the Land Use and Developer Relations Standing Committee with myself as chair, with Vice President Pinnock as the member, and meeting quarterly. That's the proposal,
Or as needed.
or as needed. That's the proposal. May I have a motion?
I can approve that.
Great, thank you. I will second. Any further discussion? Okay, let's vote. Okay. Also, motion fails. Okay, action item 2.7, Hillside Property Development Ad Hoc Committee vacancies. So with the last meeting with the committee assignments, this was not assigned because we were discussing the Land Use and Developer Relations Standing Committee. And this is an existing ad hoc committee. Since I'm 0 for 2, I'm going to propose that I
But
sit
nobody's
on this
counting.
committee. Y'all are all counting. You're all counting. Let's be real. You're all counting. The Hillside Property Development Ad Hoc Committee. So this is in existence. So I'm proposing that I serve on this committee. Since it's ad hoc, is there a chair? Or is it just 2 folks?
It's just two, yeah.
Okay. Who would like to serve on this committee with me?
I'd like to.
Great.
All right.
Okay. So the proposal then is for myself and Director Hernandez to serve on the Hillside Property Development Ad Hoc Committee. Any discussion?
I would just share in your request for continued transparency as it moves forward.
I will commit to you for continued transparency, because this committee, to my mind, has, it's just been kind of a black box. And I think it's a really important opportunity that we have for our community. And so, yes, we will have continued transparency.
Thank you.
Can I
Yes.
just provide, I just want to remind you all, this is an ad hoc committee. It isn't, it's not a long-term, it's not intended to be a long-term committee. It's very specific in nature. It's not directed at quote-unquote developer relationships, et cetera, because that would be different. And there are, I guess, Brown Act issues relative to what the committee does at times, i.e. it doesn't have to publish agendas, et cetera. And so I just caution us that, you know, relative to that, you can obviously handle this in different ways in keeping the board informed. And so, but it is an ad hoc committee. It is not like the other standing committees in that the minutes would be published, et cetera, typically, so.
Great, thank you for that clarification. This ad hoc committee, as far as I know, has been around for years. It's since I've been on the board and before then. Yep, so I understand that it's supposed to be temporary, so let's get the job done. Let's get it done. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to move my recommendation.
Move to approve.
Okay, I will second. Let's vote. And it passes unanimously. Thank you. That, I believe, is the end of our action items. Board reports, or excuse me, General Manager report.
Thank you, Madam President. Just really quick, there's a couple items. So first off, the heliopod, which is the firefighting, basically open reservoir for helicopters. We've been working diligently, actually Ed has been working diligently with the city and the county to basically get the final, this facility's up there. We're getting the telemetry set. We're making sure everything is good. We're looking at, it's not set in stone yet, a ribbon cutting sometime in March. We intend to, if possible, to bring it to the P3 if we have information. If not, we'll work directly with the board president on the agenda of the item and let the entire board know. We expect it to be both a city, county, and Vallecitos attended event, with the intent that Vallecitos and the board president will probably MC it if she so chooses. So, again, date still to be determined, but we're shooting for March. So,
Who's financed that project?
so it's been a shared finance. Ed actually knows the numbers better than I do, but I know Vallecitos has put up about 50% of the finance between labor in lieu of, actually doing some of the job ourselves with our construction crews and some actual material costs like concrete, for example.
So
So,
maintenance is gonna be the same?
yeah, it'll be our facility at the end, and the city, basically between grants and the county have donated. And obviously, we could bring more information to you, and at the next engineering committee, we'll probably give you some more detailed information also. And we go, of course, bring it to the board if you guys want.
Thanks, Ed.
It's gonna save lives.
So hopefully, we could have all the board members in attendance. The second item is our Palomar intern, is starting on 1/29. So Logan Crawford is his name, and I've heard, I haven't seen him, that he has a striking resemblance to our ops manager. Yeah. That's what Chris said. Not even close? Okay. Well, with redder hair, yes. So, with that concludes my my update.
Thank you. This is our fifth intern,
Yes, it is.
right? Okay, thank you. And say the name again?
Logan Crawford.
Okay, Logan Crawford, thank you. All right, wonderful. District Legal Counsel.
I think, as you all know, this is the time for you to be completing your Form 700s.
Yes.
And I just wanted, if you check the FPP website, they have a new gift tracking app that you can download to your phone to make it easier in the coming year to keep track of your items for your economic statement. It doesn't publish it, but it does keep track of all of them for you so that it's easier to report. But you can go to the website, and then there's a download for Android or the other devices of the app. Pretty interesting.
When is it due, do you remember?
April, mid-April.
Mid-April, but I think they've sent them all out to folks to begin to
I
complete.
got mine.
All right.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's great news. The app is, I bet that's handy. Okay, thank you. And Director Ellithorpe is not here. Do we have someone else reporting on the San Diego County Water Authority?
Just a brief update. So the San Diego County Water Authority gave an update on their water rate actual service, basically their actuals for calendar year 2023. Just to give you a flavor of they expected to deliver something close to 400,000 acre feet of water, and they delivered something closer to 270 something thousand acre feet of water. It ended up becoming a net cost to the Water Authority of in the $70+ million range. So $144 million revenue shortfall. They also had less cost, so the net difference was in the $70 million range. They're looking at their forecast moving forward, and so far this fiscal year, the tracking is still low, but obviously that includes from last July on. And we're looking at some bounce back, but they don't anticipate a full bounce back. So that's the doom and gloom news. The good news is the Colorado River update was provided also, and within the Colorado update, there's some good news on how there may be some sharing where we could transfer waters possibly. And the first 50,000 acre feet was already signed by the Water Authority, the new general manager, for water transfers, which means San Diego region won't, which at this point can't use the water, won't also be charged for that water, would actually get some benefit from it. So, and we'll see how that develops over the next several years as the new reality of the Colorado River takes face between all the lower basin states. So,
Thank you.
Just for the public and the board, there was an interesting news item relative to San Diego Water Authority in the new crime wave, people posing as representatives of the Water Authority, going to people's houses and getting in and getting information and seeking payments and that. So that, I don't know if that's occurred up in North County, but it is. There have been reported cases happening on rising levels, so for the public and all.
that's correct.
Be cautious.
The general managers received the draft press release or maybe information release from Mike Lee, which I think is their new communications director. which states that they're going to finalize it, and I believe send it out. I don't know the date on that, though.
Yeah, that would be great if we can push out through our various channels as well. I heard about that story. I haven't listened to it. I think it was on KPBS, but my husband mentioned it to me, and it's you can't be too careful. And just for the benefit of the public, what is our policy as a water district showing up on people's doorstep and asking to come in their houses?
Ed, would you like to? Yeah, I know the rule, but I figure Ed knows it exact.
So for operations staff, it's always been our policy, we do not enter the home. Our responsibility and our liability ends at the meter. We have on very special occasions when they've reached out to the general manager and requested assistance, but it's been, in my career, very few and far between. Now, I know public relations and the irrigation inspections, and when they're looking for a leak, that's a little bit different. But for field staff, we will not enter the house. We will not ask to enter the house.
And then for the remainder staff, as Ed alluded to, we only enter the house if a previous appointment has been made. So you'll never get a Vallecitos person show up and ask to enter the house unless there's been communication and it's already been a previous appointment, so the homeowner knows that they're inviting a Vallecitos person over, it's scheduled, and the intent is to come to the house to either take a test or review something.
And most importantly, I don't think we provide billing statements or collect money from people on the spot, at the door, because that's what's happening in these situations.
It's interesting, I don't know if anybody's seen it, but the movie Beekeeper, it starts out with a scam that I've seen on my computer, that, call this number and we'll take care of it, and then of course they cheat the people out of money. Could we put this in our publication to identify that we do not enter the home unless on appointment? It's a scam, identifying that to our ratepayers and customers?
So we actually get a lot more traction doing it through social media.
Oh, okay.
So the intent is once we get the official press release from the Water Authority, we are going to forward that on with additional messaging. If we don't see anything soon, then a lot of times we do. Many times if we get it from another organization like Aqua or AWWA, we get it from Ed, and then Chris's team will then forward that publication, the official release, through social media. And that seems to get better traction as far as viewership.
Perfect.
So,
Thank you.
What about the quail call?
yeah, when we send it out through there, we also send it out to certain groups that are interested that want to be part of it. And
Okay.
I believe the quail call is part of it, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll
Yeah,
find out.
print or, through that publication might be a better way to reach some of those folks. Okay, great. Okay, thank you, Ed. Okay, Encino Wastewater Authority, 3.4.
Yes, we don't have a meeting until next week, so there's nothing really to report.
Okay, standing committees, any standing committees meet?
Haven't had one.
Nope, no standing committees, okay. Directors' reports on meetings, conferences, seminars attended.
I attended the Water Council lunch yesterday, very good meeting, very informative. The former general manager of the Metropolitan Water District was the speaker, gave us a big rundown on our water supplies, on what's going on in the Colorado. Apparently we have a lot of water, and we're reserving and have good reserves. It really was informative to me to understand that the state water project is so variable from 100,000 acre feet to 1,000,000 acre feet. And so that was a piece of information I had not known. So it was a great meeting. Try to attend it because it's always good information.
Okay, any other?
Yeah, attended the One Water Council, which we are new to, along with President Boyd Hodgson. And it was their first meeting of the year. They had Speaker Michael Mucha talk on transforming infrastructure projects using a sustainability rating system, and called Envision, which perhaps some of you have heard of. But what kind of shocked me was the cost was $3.5 million, I think he said, to assign a very strict grade rating to each project that you do, and that is how positive the project is perceived from a sustainability and a community point of view. My takeaway from it was that there's things that we could do in terms of better asking the public. And an example he gave was they were redoing a lift station for waste anyways. So, why not ask the public? Well, as per Envision, you have to ask the public and get their feedback. But, if you're doing that anyways, why not ask the public? And they ended up building the public a bathroom right next to it because there's a park nearby. And it seemed like a big win for everyone. So that, to me, seems like common sense, stuff we're probably already doing anyways, but a good reminder to be doing it, and saved you $3.5 million. So.
Thank you for that. I attended both of these. I don't have much to add on COWU, but regarding the One Water Council, I found it really interesting that also the involvement with the community. Envision apparently is a framework. It's a rating system for horizontal non-habitable infrastructure. And the inspiring story that they told as part of this engagement with the community, when they had to remodel a pumping station, a lift station rather, was that they looked at their water, they analyzed their water, and they found waste product metabolites of pharmaceuticals used to treat hypertension, anxiety, and depression. And they looked at that, and that informed their thinking of how can we engage the community, how can we try to promote getting outdoors, which is what they sort of had control over. They're a water agency, they could promote getting outside, enjoying the community. And so that was the thinking that went into their remodel of this lift station and in other places as well. And they also listened. They formed an advisory committee, and they listened to what the constituents said, and they said, well, there's a park here right around this lift station, and it's a park, and there are no bathrooms, like Director Grosset said. So they built bathrooms. So it's a way to really engage the community, form connections within the community, develop standing advisory committees. But they did this through this process called Envision that walked them through how to check all these boxes, and community engagement is one of them. And I found the story really inspiring, that they saw an unmet need in the community, and they tried to meet it in a way that was within their purview. And it was really quite beautiful, the end result. They talked about how they installed these tall or these natural light windows, and it's on kind of a hill or an embankment, and as people walk by the walking trail, they can actually look down in. And they had an open house, and they had like 50 people to come see this lift station, and they were talking about how remarkable that was. And it's because they built the relationships in the community. So I thought it was a really, really interesting meeting. It was unlike any other of these conferences that we go to typically. It was a sort of a different vibe and a different take. So I'm glad that we're now a part of U.S. Water Alliance, and I look forward to more of those types of meetings and ideas. Anything else? Okay, great, thank you. Other business, it looks like we have a meeting coming up, the Urban Water Institute, the spring conference, February 21st to 23rd in Palm Springs. And I believe that that's in our packet. I don't know when is the deadline that folks need to let you know about that? Oh, it's already passed?
December 31st. I mean, for the discounted.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, director's comments, future agenda items. Do we have any future agenda items? Okay. Then
Actually, something I did remember, as we're talking about conferences, possibly a future agenda item would be conferences attended. I know we've talked about it in the past. As far as number of directors that should attend or could attend a conference, do we want to spend the money to send 3 of us to one? Or should we have a maximum of 2 or 1 to go, and then they report back for a cost-saving measure? So something that we can discuss as far as should we have a limit on number of directors that can or should attend the same conference? Mm-hmm. Or should we open it up more of it, or should we limit it for a cost-saving measure? So
You'd like to put that on the agenda?
I would.
Okay. I think we need a second for that, don't we?
Yes, you do.
I'll second that if that's a motion.
Okay,
It is a
great.
motion. Yep.
So that will come up on a future agenda item.
Was that clear enough? I don't.
Yeah, it will, we could have a discussion there. Your choices, choice is either do that or push it to a committee, but at this point, the motion is to put it on the next agenda.
And then just a comment.
Yeah.
Recognize you as your first meeting here, General Manager. You look great in that seat, and I just wanted to say thank you. How was your first week? First, 3 weeks, whatever it's been.
It's end of week 3 or middle of week 3. It's been very, very busy. So I'm hoping that it normalizes, but it's been great. Thank you.
You fill that seat well.
I think we have a motion and a second on the floor.
Yep.
No, you don't.
Oh, we don't need
You don't need a motion, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Very
just
good.
need a second, and then we'll bring it at one of the February meetings, we'll put this on.
All right.
Okay?
I have
Yes.
a proposed agenda item as well. Moving the email retention from 1 month to 1 year is my proposed.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Moving the email, the vwd.org email, which is organizational wide, the retention of it from 1 month to 1 year period.
I will second that.
Okay.
I think there's probably discussions to be had about legalities, but I will second that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or future agenda items? Okay, with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.